Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever just felt completely exhausted by the constant demands of modern life? The endless chasing of status, the pressure to just be someone? Well, today, we're going to explore a truly ancient and profound philosophical concept from the Siddha Vedam, specifically chapter 12, that might just hold the exact antidote we're looking for. We're going to figure out how to separate our true eternal self from the grand illusion of the everyday world. Now, this concept is called Nitya Viveka, which translates to the discrimination between the eternal and the perishable. I know, it sounds incredibly deep, and it absolutely is. But we're going to break it all down together. Let's jump right in.
Right off the bat, the text hits us with a really profound existential question posed by the teacher to the disciple. The teacher simply asks, are you nithya or anithya? Meaning, are you eternal or are you perishable? It's a question that asks us to confront the very nature of our reality and our existence, literally right out of the gate. I mean, think about it for a second. If we strip away your job, your body, your passing thoughts, what's actually left? What part of you is going to last forever, and what part of you is just destined to decay?
So to make sense of this, we need to set up a core framework. On one side, we've got Nitya. This represents the eternal reality, the true underlying self. And on the flip side, we have Anitya. This represents absolutely everything that's perishable, fleeting, and temporary. It's the energy, the Maya, the entire physical world that surrounds us every single day. And the fundamental challenge of this entire philosophy is learning how to actively separate those two things in our daily lives.
Section 1. The saltwater analogy. Okay, to wrap our heads around this massive cosmic idea we just introduced, the text grounds us with this brilliant, everyday physical metaphor. It's an analogy that takes this super high-level philosophy and brings it right into your kitchen. Imagine you take a cup of water and you stir some salt into it. The salt vanishes, right? It completely dissolves into the water. In this metaphor, the eternal self is the salt, and the perishable world, the anithya, is the water. Now, to get that salt back, what do you have to do? You apply fire. You boil the water. As the heat rises, the water evaporates into thin air, and what are you left with at the bottom of the cup? The salt. Just as fire evaporates the water to leave behind the hidden salt, the text is telling us that your inner fire, the fire of knowledge, is what actually evaporates the illusion of the world to finally reveal your true eternal self.
The absolutely crucial point here is that we get completely lost in the anithya. We look at the cup and all we see is the water. We get so mixed up and merged with this so-called world that we genuinely believe this perishable physical environment is the only reality that even exists. And honestly, if you think about it, it makes total sense why we get so distracted. The physical world is loud, it's demanding, it's constantly flashing notifications in our faces and stressing us out. We find it almost impossible to destroy the illusion of this world because we're literally swimming in it. We forget the invisible salt is even there.
Moving on to Section 2, Deconstructing the I.
So now that we know we need this inner fire of knowledge to evaporate the worldly illusion, we actually have a job to do. We've got to turn our focus inward and carefully examine what we refer to every single day as the I. When the teacher in the text asks the disciple where this world originated, the answer is just a striking realization. The disciple realizes it originated from himself. The entire world you perceive, your country, your family, your property, all those modern desires for status, social media followers, external validation, it actually originates entirely from your own mind, your own force. And because it comes from this force, absolutely none of these affairs, even the things you call mine, are permanent. The text gives us these incredible everyday examples to show how we usually experience this I without even realizing it. I climbed up that hill and got down here, so my body was tired. This beautifully separates our true identity from our physical form. Just notice the language we naturally use there. The I didn't become tired, it's merely the physical body that got tired, while the I remained a safe, completely detached observer of that fatigue. It's a subtle little realization, but it completely changes how we view ourselves.
Or take this fascinating example right from the text. My toe struck against a stone and began to bleed, and my life seemed to ebb out with the pain. Even in moments of intense physical trauma and sudden, sharp pain, notice what is actually affected. It's the life force that feels like it's ebbing. But the core I, that true observer deep within, it is still completely safe. It's entirely untouched by the stone.
And we can even separate the I from our mental state. I got frightened at that sound, and my mind became confused. Again, we realize that it is the mind that becomes confused, frantic, or anxious, not the true self. Just think about how often we say things like, I am stressed, or I am confused. When we say that, we are merging the salt and the water. Really, it's just our mind experiencing those things. In all of these instances, the physical exhaustion, the bodily injury, the mental confusion, the I remains completely safe.
But here's where things get really interesting, and it's something I think we can all relate to. Imagine you're at work and a colleague makes a really harsh, insulting comment to you in front of everyone. You go home totally ashamed, saying, "Such and such a person abused me and I felt so small." Let's just pause and think about that for a second. Is it your physical body that physically shrank? Is it your life force that got smaller? No. It's an almost absurd realization when you really look at it, but in this moment, it's the I itself that shrank. The I became small.
And we see the exact same thing happen when we're seeking validation. Whenever we argue and claim victory, saying, "I defeated him," or when we boast, "Do you know who I am? I am a person of high status," this prominent I takes center stage. This I gets massively inflated by a victory or a compliment, and then it shrinks down to absolutely nothing when it gets insulted. Think about how utterly exhausting it is to live like that, having an I that's constantly inflating and deflating, completely at the mercy of external reactions and the passing opinions of others. So this status-seeking, shrinking, boasting, proud I, it actually has a specific name. It's called ahamkara. It is the ego that prides itself on its own self-conceit. And the text explicitly warns us here, this ego, this ahamkara, is completely anitya. It is perishable. It is entirely tied to the fleeting, temporary world. Going back to our earlier metaphor, this ego is not the eternal salt we are looking for. This is simply part of the evaporating water.
Section 3. The origin of mind.
To really separate the eternal from the perishable, we can't just stop at identifying the ego. We've got to map out exactly where this ego comes from so we can trace our way all the way back to the true self. The text lays out a very clear, distinct chain of manifestation here. That proud I, the ahamkara we just talked about, originates directly from the mind. The mind, in turn, originates from jiva, which is life. And jiva is ultimately siva, the true eternal self. So the ego is merely a downstream product of the eternal self. The problem is we get completely stuck at the bottom of this list. We mistakenly identify as the ahamkara, completely forgetting the eternal siva at the absolute top of the chain.
And when you understand that chain, there's this massive, liberating breakthrough. The mind is only the shakti, the energy of the true self. It's just jiva shakti. By understanding that the mind is merely the energy of the real self, we suddenly realize we aren't enslaved by it. We have the incredible power to concentrate it and to control it. We aren't at the mercy of the mind's endless anxieties. The mind is simply a tool. It's just an energy belonging to the eternal us.
So what do we actually do with this? Well, the text gives us a very clear, actionable practice for nitya-nitya viveka. It instructs us not to waste this precious energy on the outside. What does that actually look like for us? It means we stop pouring our life energy into pointless arguments on the internet, into our own pride, into obsessing over material things, all the anithya. Instead, we have to intentionally store this energy inside us, using our inner knowledge, our fire, to attain self-realization. We literally pull our focus away from the boiling, evaporating water of the world and concentrate entirely on discovering the salt. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to carry with you today. Knowing what you know now about the exhausting, proud ego and the true eternal self, are you going to continue to drown in the perishable water of the world, constantly reacting to every little insult and victory? Or are you ready to use the inner fire of knowledge, evaporate the illusion of the ego, and discover the eternal truth hidden within? The choice and the energy to make it is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.